Get your hands on the first limited edition PS5. Do you regret the PS5? Why did the PS3 just get an update? How's it going, everyone? Welcome to PSReady. I'm gonna get into those bigger news stories I just mentioned in a minute, but let's get some of the smaller stuff out of the way first, starting with a huge sale that's going on over at Best Buy. Now, initially I thought this was like a President's Day sale, but it looks like Sony's doing a sale over on the PlayStation Store, and they're also extending it to physical game sales at Best Buy. So if you're the kind of person who likes physical games like I do, this is the perfect sale for you. So I figured I'd just pick a few out and let you know what price they're on sale for. Gran Turismo 7 is at its lowest price yet of $39.99, which is great, especially if you just picked up a PSVR 2, because honestly, Gran Turismo 7 is the flagship game of PSVR for me, right there next to Resident Evil Village. Unless you've never used VR before, then you should definitely pick up Call of the Mountain, because it's like VR training wheels, like my first VR game. But these other two, if you want the hardcore VR experience, go with Gran Turismo 7 for $40, and then Resident Evil Village is on sale for $20. I wish I looked at Best Buy before I picked that game up, because I just paid $40 for it to get it on PS5 to play it in VR. So yeah, that kind of sucks, and I could have got it physical too. Shoot. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is on sale for $30. I think that's the lowest price we've seen it go to. We have seen it go to that price before. Sackboy: A Big Adventure is on sale for $20. I'm pretty sure that's on PS Plus Extra though. The Last of Us Part 1 is on sale for $50 for the second time, so if you haven't picked that up yet, you should definitely grab it because it's an awesome remake. And those are just a few picks from the sale. I'll link them all individually down in the description, and I'll also link the sale itself so you can go check out some games. Also, since it's new Mandalorian episode day, I figured I'd let you guys know that Ray and I got to see the new episode last night. We actually got to see 2 episodes at the premiere, and it was awesome. The first episode is more of a recap of what happened in the Book of Boba Fett, and then the second episode is where it gets crazy. So if you wait a week for that second episode, that one is awesome. I also finally hunkered down and finished the UCS Millennium Falcon over the weekend. I'm gonna put some cool B-roll here, and I forgot I ordered this when the Book of Boba Fett came out, but it showed up on my doorstep, and I was thinking of returning it, but like I opened it, and it's pretty cool. It's a Nerf Boba Fett blaster that has sound effects, and then like you can take out the clip here. So yeah, it's like I'm 30. I'm turning 30 this weekend on Saturday, but yeah, I'm still getting Nerf toys from Star Wars, and I might repaint this to look like the one in the show instead of a toy, but I don't know. But yeah, when you replace the magazine here, you can kind of like close it up, and it's got a cool sound effect. So this thing's pretty sweet. All right, next up, we got to talk about the first limited edition PS5, because it's kind of weird. I guess it's kind of cool. There's like a very specific kind of person this is for, and it's not me, but I will show it to you and tell you about it. And if you think it's cool, more power to you. It's just not for me. I'm not saying it's lame or anything. It's just, it's interesting that this is the first limited edition PS5 we're getting, because it's LeBron James themed. So technically it's more of like limited edition plates and a controller that you can get together. The controller actually is pretty cool. It's the Midnight Black controller, and it looks like LeBron drew all over it. It has his phrase, "Nothing is given, everything is earned." It's got a bunch of other like motivational phrases on it, a bunch of crown drawings, and then on the back there's a crown with an X and then the PlayStation button, so it's like LeBron cross PlayStation. I think it's pretty cool looking. If I was into basketball, I definitely would consider picking this up. And it of course has matching side plates to go along with it. These are going to be limited edition, and what I'm really hoping is that these are like a sign of things to come. It would be sweet if we started, like I've been saying for months now, getting plates to go along with game launches. I mean, getting The Last of Us Part 1 plates would have been sweet. God of War Ragnarok plates, like that seems like a no-brainer. I'm honestly kind of shocked they didn't have them for Hogwarts Legacy, or even, again, God of War Ragnarok, knowing that both of those games got controllers released alongside them. It would have been great to have plates released alongside them as well, because one of the biggest issues for me is I've really wanted some special edition consoles in the past. I wanted the Spider-Man one, the all-red PS4 Pro. I wanted the Ellie edition PS4 Pro that had her tattoo etched into it, but like that was at the end of the generation, and at the time Spider-Man came out, I already had a PlayStation 4 Pro, so why would I spend, you know, $200 or $300 just to get another one? It didn't really make a lot of sense to me at the time. But with plates, the switchable plates that are on the PlayStation 5, it makes a lot more sense, because you can swap those out whenever you want. You know, you can sell them for like $50 or $60, and I would be there day one to buy them, and I'd honestly pay like up to $150 to get them in a bundle together, where I can just get these like side plates that match up with the games I'm currently playing alongside the custom edition DualSense. Because while the God of War Ragnarok one is cool, the Hogwarts Legacy one was awesome. I didn't end up picking it up because it came out around the same time as the DualSense Edge, and that's like my main controller going forward, but you know, it would have been sweet to have plates matching up with that controller as well. Weirdly enough, there's no release date or price at this time for this controller or these plates. It seems like something that they kind of rushed a little bit, but yeah, it says that they'll be available later this year. So if you want to pick up the LeBron James limited edition PS5 plates and DualSense, subscribe to PSReady and set your notifications to all because I will update you as soon as we know more. Next up, now that the PS5 is available, I've seen an article going around that's basically talking about some regrets that people have over their PS5 purchases. Now, most of these are games that people bought for full price. They got into the launch window hype. They bought a game and then they were disappointed with it and they were kind of stuck with it when they could have bought something else. So I figured I'd go down the list and kind of tell you if I agree with these PS5 regrets or not. The first one on this list is God of War Ragnarok, but the reasoning they give kind of could extend to pretty much every PS5 game so far, and that's that it was also on PS4, so you don't really need a PS5 for it. I am not playing games at 30 FPS if I have the option to play them at 60. God of War Ragnarok at 60 was an incredible experience from top to bottom, so that regret is a no for me. The next section is games that were released too early, and this one I definitely agree with. I bought Cyberpunk 2077 day one, and I played through the entire game, and I really enjoyed it, but when the next gen patch came out, I played it again, and it was like a night and day difference of a game, but it still didn't feel like playing the game for the first time, and I would have enjoyed it so much more if that was my first time playing it. And it's a like worrying trend with AAA games right now, except from Sony apparently, where like you get the game on day one and you're playing the literal worst version of that game, and you're actually rewarded for waiting to play till the DLC or all the patches are out. Like with Cyberpunk, it's so frustrating too, because that game was really cool at launch. I played it on PC, but it was so much cooler with that next gen patch. So that PS5 regret, I totally agree with. Playing games too early always feels like a bummer, especially with Dead Space most recently. I feel really bad for people who played that entire game the first weekend it came out, because it had a really bad graphical glitch for the PS5 that basically made it look like when you were walking through corridors, if you ever walked through any smoke, the lighting would look super low res, and also some of the textures in the world through fog and smoke would go super low res because of the variable rate shading, which they eventually took out. But again, this is a 10 or 12 hour game, so if you played it the weekend it came out and beat it, you played this inferior version of it because Motive decided to release it unfinished. And I'm not even gonna get started with the PC version, which still isn't fixed. Over a month after they released it, they have just disappeared. They were like, oh yeah, we're working on the massive stuttering issues and all the graphical problems and the fact that this game runs terribly on a 40 series card. Don't worry guys, we've got this handled. Don't worry, it's gonna be fine. They disappeared. They have not said a single thing. Every patch they've released for Dead Space on PC so far has either done nothing or made the game play worse. So EA Motive, in my book, not great right now. The last game on this list is games that people wish they waited for PS Plus on. One of them is Biomutant, and I think like, yeah, that's probably a game that could have been on PS Plus. I know Godfall is another one. People were like, yeah, I'm glad that I waited for this super messed up PS Plus version so I could play a borderline demo of that game and realize it wasn't worth buying. But one game I see on this list is Monster Hunter World, which like, no way, man. That is not a game to wait for PS Plus on. That is one of the most technically sound, polished, content-rich games I've ever played. It's awesome. I could see it from the perspective of like maybe saying, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not, but man, I would not have waited. That game was so worth taking a chance on. Like at that point in time when that game came out, I had played Monster Hunter on the PSP. I had played Freedom and Freedom Unite, and I think I played Freedom 2, and they were great, but I hadn't played a Monster Hunter title since then. And then this one comes out of nowhere. I was a little iffy on it. I was like, I don't know if I'm like too old for Monster Hunter now, if I'm gonna still like it. I loved it. I put so many hours into it, and I think it's better than Rise. So I disagree with Monster Hunter World, but having other games like Biomutant or Battlefield 2042, that was definitely a game that was worth waiting for PS Plus on, because just like with Cyberpunk, it was released unfinished and people are now playing the best version of the game, and they're doing it for free if they have PlayStation Plus. So yes, I totally agree that there are games that are worth waiting for PS Plus on. I just don't agree that it's Monster Hunter World. As far as the console goes, I don't really regret anything. I'm glad that I returned the Pulse Wireless 3D headset. I was excited to get it when the PS5 came out, but I got better headphones pretty soon after. So I was like, I don't really need these, and I'm glad I returned returned them because I ended up getting the InZone H7s, which are right there under the camera, which is why I like pointed at them. But yeah, I didn't get the charging stand. I don't know where I would have put that. The black plates on my PS5, I was like kind of iffy on that. I was like, do I really need these? I'm glad I got them because the PS5 looks so much better in black. Paying $30 for the media remote, that's probably my most used PS5 accessory at this point, so I don't feel bad about that. So as far as consoles go, PS5, no real regrets for me. I haven't really played anything on there that I regret buying. I waited for PS Plus on the games I wanted to, like Horizon Forbidden West. So overall, not a lot of regrets for me. I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below. Next up, we got to talk about one of the most surprising things of 2023 so far for the PS5, and that's that the PS3 just got an update. Now, of course, Sony's not giving us many patch notes on this, but if you are still using your PlayStation 3, you have an update you have to download to keep connecting to the PSN, and what it does is improve stability and performance of your console. Now, this is surprising to me up front. Now, up front, this was kind of surprising to me, but then I thought about it for a second, and I'm sure just like with the PS2 and the DVD player built in, there are a lot of people out there who probably got PS3s and just decided that was their de facto streaming device. I know people actually in real life who still use the PS3 for Netflix and other apps like Hulu and YouTube and things like that, and for that it works totally fine because the PS3 was able to output at 1080p back in the day, and a lot of people still to this day have not upgraded to 4K TVs. So if you're one of those people and you have your PS3 still set up, it makes a pretty decent streaming device and Blu-ray player. What I'm really hoping is that the reason Sony is looking at the PS3 is because they're working on an emulator for the PS5. I've talked so much about PS Plus Premium at this point, but if they added PS3 native emulation on the PS5, I would subscribe to PS Plus Premium day one. Like from that point forward, you have my PS Plus Premium subscription in perpetuity. I want to play some old PS3 games so bad, like Infamous 1 and 2, Resistance 2 and 3. I think 1 wouldn't hold up that well. That game was kind of rough when it came out on PS3, let's be honest. Metal Gear Solid 4, the Metal Gear Solid HD collection, like there was an HD version of Peace Walker on the PS3 that I still can't play on my PS5, and it absolutely sucks. And they never released that HD collection for PC, so I'm kind of SOL there. So yeah, I would really like to see Sony work on an emulator for the PS5 that plays PS3 games. And then the last news story for this video is that Sony is releasing more TVs this year that have awesome features that your PS5 can unlock. Now, last year they released a line of TVs that had their version of Dolby Visual, which is Dolby's version of HDR, and instead of being like HDR10 where it just grades the entire game and sets the lighting profile that way, it does it frame by frame with Dolby. So Sony, instead of like partnering with Dolby like Xbox did, they made their own version and released it with their TVs. And now we're getting a line of TVs that actually have genuinely cool features that I wish every TV would have. So when you plug your PS5 into your TV, it'll automatically know and put it into game mode. And when you're in game mode, you get a separate menu that just has all the features you would want to access when you're using a game console on your TV. Like, for example, turning off motion smoothing and motion blur. You can do that right from the TV's menu with this new game mode menu. You can also toggle variable refresh rate on or off on the TV if you want to take advantage of that. I don't really understand the hype there. I would rather games just be locked at 60 FPS, but having VRR that kicks in when it does drop below 60 is great because you won't notice it as much. You'll still definitely notice it if it drops too much, but one of the coolest features is black equalizer, which lets you take the darkest parts of games and brighten just them up, which is great because with HDR, sometimes I like have to brighten my TV so much just to see the darker parts of a level. Destiny 2 is a great example of this, and then it blows out the whites in the lighter sections, even though you have two separate like light and dark sliders for HDR. So being able to fine tune it and make it so that the lighter colors are in range, but the darker colors aren't too dark, that seems awesome, and I wish my TV had that. This one might be considered cheating, but my monitor definitely does it. There's a crosshair option that puts a crosshair in the middle of your screen. A lot of people with Call of Duty will like put their crosshair in the middle of the screen and then ADS, and then they'll put a piece of tape where the middle of the crosshair is on their sights, and then it makes it easier to target people when you're running around or in movement. And of course, making it easier to aim and hip fire when you're in Call of Duty makes you a better player. So you got to see why people might call that cheating, but yeah, there is a crosshair option built into the TV. And then finally, they have an option to shrink down the entire image image on the TV, which I guess would put a bunch of black bars around whatever game you're playing. But the theory there is that if you can see the whole screen with your eyes instead of moving your eyes around, you'll be better in an online shooter like Call of Duty. That one seems a little gimmicky to me, but still, this is pretty cool. Of course, since it's Sony and these are Bravia TVs, they're going to be incredibly expensive, but I always am a fan of them adding features that justify the price increase over other brands like LG, and this is exactly what they're doing with these TVs.